Don't let your job get in the way of your work. Instead, make sure your job is working for your work.
Hey, Creating Maven. I'm Joy Spencer, your Reframe specialist, with one important message. Your real work, it's not your job or your career. Your real work is what you create. And what you create is what sets you apart and makes you incomparable. It's your legacy. I'm here to show you a whole new way of working so you can create with your gifts, make a unique contribution, and finally get paid to be yourself. This is Reframe to Create.
You're probably wondering, what in the world does Joy mean by don't let your job get in the way of your work? Don't worry. I'm not going to hold you in suspense. I'm going to get right to it. The biggest mistake you're making is thinking that your job is what gives you work. What? Yeah. Let me say it again. Your biggest mistake is thinking that work comes from a job. It doesn't. Yes, you heard me right. Your job does not give you work. Your job is not your real work. Your job is a vehicle. It's a container that has the potential to hold your work, but doesn't always do that. That's because your work and your job are not the same thing. Hear me out. Work predates and exists even today outside of jobs. Think of all the stay-at-home moms working tirelessly every single day, feeding, clothing, bathing, entertaining, and creating beautiful and safe experiences for their children. They're working trust. They are working, and all of this outside of the confines of a job bestowed to them by an organization. Long before corporations came along, long before nonprofits called social justice warriors to arms, long before foundations hired program officers to dish out grants, long before all of this, there was work. And all day long, outside the limited walls and confines of office buildings, of professions, titles, and roles, work goes on. Work was here before organizations and jobs, and work will be here after organizations and jobs are gone. That's because your work is not your job or your career. Your work, your real work, is what you create. And your capacity to create is something that is powerful and very human. You already had this capacity long before you ever got your first job. It's the thing you can't help doing with your gifts. Whatever your gift may be, you can't help but create with your gift. And the sweat, the blood, and the tears that you put into creating with your gifts is your work. That's your real work. Even children have work. With their little hands and feet and minds and bodies, you have seen children work as they create with their gifts. Maybe it's imaginary worlds, or maybe they create art with their hands and even their feet. Oh, their work may look like play, maybe even frivolous play to you, but it's work. It's the real work of being fully human and alive as you use and create with your gifts. So get this, work is creating. Work is creating with your gifts. That is your real work, and nobody can take it away from you because they didn't give it to you in the first place. So because you might be making this mistake, like most people do, this mistake of thinking that your job and your work are the same and that your job is what is giving you work, it's understandable that you would let your job get in the way of your work, the real work of you creating with your gifts. It's easy to do this. We live in a society that's obsessed with jobs and not without reason. Jobs are not neutral containers, but they're the way most of us are getting the money we need to pay bills, house ourselves, and clothe ourselves. So they are very, very, very important. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying jobs are unimportant. I'm not even saying jobs are bad or that you should ditch them, except if you're in a toxic job, of course, then ditch away. I'm saying that your job is not your work, and this reframe of separating the meaning of the two in your mind is what will help you stop letting your job get in the way of your work. Jobs are containers. Jobs are created by organizations who need to organize labor so that they can get what they want to get, and get more of the labor that's going to support them in the mission that they need to thrive. Okay, nothing wrong with that. They put out these job descriptions and expect people to come fulfill them because it fits in with their broader strategy. Fair exchange. And sometimes you'll find the perfect blend. Sometimes you'll find that your work, the things and experiences that you naturally are gifted to create, sometimes they're what the job calls for. Ding, 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 ding. Lucky you and good for you. There is perfect alignment with who you are, what you create with your gifts, and the job. You feel amazing and fulfilled on the job. Or so you think, because what's happening is you're getting to do your work, your real work. You're getting to create, and you attribute this to the job. All those good feelings that you get from creating, you attribute it to the job, but it's not the job. It's what your job is being good at. It's being a good and conducive environment for your real work. And you're getting to do your real work on the job. But what if things shift? What if roles change, leadership changes, and you're no longer able to do your work and bring your creating power to the job? Oh no, now you might think something is wrong with you or something is wrong with the job, when really what's happened is things have gotten out of alignment and you're not able to do your work in this container of this job, which is something that happens. And your work, which is always yours and always belongs to you, is still yours. Whether you're standing on the inside or outside of a job, whether your work is aligning with or not aligning with your job. So what to do in this moment? Well, you can quit and get another job, which a lot of people do, but without knowing this distinction between your job and your work, you can fall into the same trap again and again and again, just doing it somewhere else. You can go to another job thinking that what you really need is a job that's going to give you meaningful work, when that's not it. What you should be thinking about instead is, does this job, which is a container, does this job have the right attributes, the right environment that I need to bring my work and to do my real work here? Because you always have your work with you. You always have and take with you what you can create with your gifts. Jobs don't give you work. You infuse a job with meaningful work that you bring. Doing your work and creating with your gifts is what's always going to bring you a sense of satisfaction with work, whether it's in a job or outside of a job. This confusion about what work is and what a job is what it looks like when you're letting your job get in the way of your work. You're confusing the two, but it's not just that. When you're letting your job get in the way of your work, you're often sitting around waiting for permission to do your real work. Think about it. How many times have you felt dejected and moped around at a job because you weren't able to do your best work by creating with your gifts? You had to instead, dot I's and cross T's, and, you didn't get to create anything, and it was killing you. You had to twist yourself into a pretzel to fulfill a role that was sucking your soul. And you not only sat in it, you're probably sitting in it now. You're not even bothering to create anything anywhere else in your life. And why? Because you think that a job is the only venue for working. So you're waiting on them to get it right. You're not taking the opportunity to create anywhere and wherever you can, because you can. And you don't see yourself as the person ultimately responsible for your work. You think that responsibility belongs to a job and your employer. This is what I want you to get. Get this. Your job is not responsible for your work. You are. You are responsible for finding the right venues for creating, which is your real work. Always. Whether that venue is on a job or outside of a job. Even if today you can't create on your job, you are still responsible to keep doing your real work by finding ways and venues to create outside of the confines of your job role. Don't let your job get in the way of your real work because you are wrongly thinking that you need your job's permission to make room for you so that you can create. Not true. So what does it look like? What does it look like when you stop letting your job get in the way of your real work? What would you look like? You'll look like someone who knows that how you pay your bills and your job title doesn't define you. You'll look like someone who's in full control of your work at all times because you know your work is what you create, and you'll always be about that life. And when you're in a job that gives you the space and autonomy to bring your creating power, you'll bring it, always knowing that what's happening is not that the job is giving you great work, but the job is making space for you to bring your work. And when looking for a new job, you'll look beneath the surface of the roles and responsibilities that are listed, and you'll kick the tires to know if you're walking into an environment that will make room for and support you creating with your gifts. You'll ask, do they want what I've got, or are they looking for a yes person paper pusher? You'll know that your job is always meant to be going to work for you. When your job is a container that supports you creating with your gifts and doing your real work, then it's a job whose job is to be your playground supporting your ongoing growth and development. For the time that you're there, you're going to partner with them and you're going to be able to create and offer your gifts and service in that space. And it's going to be well received and they're going to benefit from it. And you're going to get such value out of offering that. It's going to be great. But when your job is in a container that does not support you creating with your gifts and doing your real work, that'll be okay too, because you'll keep that Bruno in check and give it the job of being your sponsor. That job is there to serve the purpose of paying the bills, keeping that insurance tight, and all the wonderful benefits it brings. Thank you very much. Appreciate it for what it can do, and don't be mad about what it can't. It's not stopping you from doing your real work, because it can't. This is the reframe you need. This is the narrative shift on work that you need to understand that your work is not your job or your career, and to use this reframe to make sure you'll never let your job get in the way of your work ever again. So here are some questions for you to chew on as you try this reframe on for size. How is my job helping me do my real work? Is it aligned or out of alignment with my work? How is this job serving as a financial support to what I create? Is it? How is this job helping me sharpen the skills that help me to create? Is it? How is this job helping me to network and build connections with people and communities that will want what I create or who I can collaborate with to co-create? Chew on these questions as you reframe your thinking to see your job as a temporary container for your work rather than the whole enchilada. See it as a temporary space for you to create with your gifts for as long as things are aligned. This is it. So it's time to focus on your real work, time to focus on your unique contribution. Focus on that thing or experience that's got that indelible mark of your fingerprints all over it. That thing that you create. And if you don't know what that thing is, then I've got you. I am exceptional at taking my clients through a process that I created called a resume excavation, which is a treasure hunt to find what makes you stand apart. Are you ready to find out what makes you stand apart? Are you ready to discover your real work and get to creating with your gifts? Are you ready to own your work and never let your job get in its way again? I know you are. Book your resume excavation today through the link that's in the show notes and let me help you get to your real work. See you soon, Creating Maven. Until then, remember to always ask yourself, what will I create?